Hello, welcome to Bible study looking at Psalms, and we're today on Psalm 22. So again, as I've been looking at Psalm 22, I'm just like, how do I do this without getting stuck in it? There's so much detail, so many things you could pick up. So what I'm going to do is cover this one over two sessions. And the first one, I'm going to focus on the prophetic side that's in this psalm to do with the cross. And then we'll have a look at the prophetic side also that's to do with the resurrection. So you think, how does that all fit together? So this psalm is thought to have been written by King David. And it's a psalm, again, as with all his psalms, it's written through things that he's experienced and been through in life. And you remember he spent some time being chased down by Saul and all those things. So it was a very difficult, very hard existence, and before that he'd been looking after the sheep, and he really was the tail end of the family. So he is anointed as king, and he still went through a lot of trouble and difficulty. And even in that statement you think, Jesus was anointed as king, and yet he came to earth and he suffered all he did through the cross as well. So, but the interesting thing is here with David when he's writing this psalm, and let's assume he doesn't understand in one way what he's writing, but he starts to prophesy what's ahead. In his psalm, he's writing about his circumstances, but he's carried along by the Spirit, and the Holy Spirit reveals, some of the things to do with Jesus, to do with Christ, to do with the cross, to do with the resurrection. And it's one of those amazing mysteries in the Old Testament, how that happens time and time again, that something specific relating to that day, to that person's experience, does have that dimension to it, which is declaring the kingdom that at that point was yet to come. Now, as I was thinking about this, I was thinking, it's so much like in the New Testament, we're told to be imitators of Christ, and it's like parts of our lives, they become a prophecy, a declaration of God to other people. That is the power of our testimony, of our story. And there is something about when we walk with God that what's released on earth is beyond just that moment, but what we release on earth is a prophecy. It is a declaration. Now, trying to explain this a little bit. So David here, yes, he's writing about his own life, but he is being an imitator of God in his life, in his attitudes, in the way he's living things out. And so out of that, there is a flow of something of the kingdom. And in this case, that something is illustrated through what he prophesies on the cross and the resurrection. And so for us, as we imitate Christ, we are acting like, as Christians, it's little Christs. We are acting and bringing something of who Jesus is to earth. It's like a prophetic segment of our lives. So hopefully that makes sense. But it's like, so when we look at this psalm, what I want to pick out today is just those moments, and to realise that here in the Old Testament, rooted in the Old Testament, are these declarations that are all about Jesus. Jesus didn't appear in a vacuum. His arrival had been prophesied right back actually into Genesis. So here the psalmist is highlighting and declaring the one who at that point is yet to come. The first part of Psalm 22, it makes it clear, is that statement. It's very recognisable. In verse 1, my God, why have you forsaken me? That was the declaration that Jesus made on the cross. He was imitating, if you like. He was drawing out from the Old Testament that statement. My God, why have you forsaken me? Now, the reality is that when I look at that, I think, what actually happened in that moment, that Jesus was used to seeing his Father's face. And it's like, in that moment, God hadn't totally disappeared, because if he had, the world would have just disintegrated. But in that moment, it's like God covered, if you like, or the word is, so that Jesus at that moment wasn't able to see the face of the Father. It doesn't mean he'd gone. I think it's illustrated in when Moses is hidden in the cleft of the rock in Exodus, and as the glory of God goes by, when he could have seen the Lord face to face, it's like he's covered by the hand of God. There's a darkness where Moses is, and then he sees the back of God, and it's like that illustration shows God was there, but he could not see him at that point. So Jesus here, he's crying out to God. He's calling out for deliverance, that he would be set free from what he was going through. But let's pick out, for our consideration, some of the references to the cross and what was going on around him. So it's really verse 11 onwards. It's like, be not far from me, for trouble is near. For there's no one to help. Many bulls are surrounding me, strong bulls of Bashan. That's really talking about the real strength. There's strength against him. They open wide their mouth to me as a ravening and roaring lion. I don't know if I said that right. Just looking at that. This. It says, I am poured out like water. There's the first statement. Jesus in his life it was like his whole life was poured out on the cross. It says, all my bones are out of joint. It refers to the cross when Jesus is stretched out. It says that no bone of his was broken, but it's like that stretching, that brutality of the cross would have done that to him. My heart is like wax, it's melted within me. And I look at that, and though I can't say I fully understand the meaning of that, I'm just looking going, we have to recognise that what Jesus did through the cross wasn't just an external physical thing where his body was broken. What he went through was internal. It impacted the very heart of who he is. His very heartbeat was broken and melted, and any word you can think of like that. This is it's declared there, and you think, yeah, so true. It says, my strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue cleaves to my jaws, and you lay me in the dust of death. Again, I think we can see in the scriptures how Jesus, it comes to that point where he says, I'm thirsty. It's like almost like every ounce of water which represents in itself life was drained out of him, dried up. And he says, for the dogs have surrounded me, a band of evildoers has compassed me. That really was what the cross, was like and is about. It says, they pierced, verse 16, they pierced my hands and my feet. No, that's clear, isn't it? We know that. I could count all my bones. They look and they stare at me. They divide my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. And I can't leave it there. I know we're coming to the end of our session. He says, but you, O Lord, be not far off. O you, my help, hasten to my assistance. Deliver my soul from the sword. So here, through this psalm, we have a prophecy, a declaration of the cross. And David, through his own experiences, is writing that. But for us, we're looking at it from a different angle. And I think we should celebrate that God, ahead of time, knew what was happening through the cross. It wasn't, a mistake, every other plan failed type moment. It was a deliverance for mankind that was chosen ahead of time and declared ahead of time. Bless you. Thank you for being with me. Have a great day. Look forward to being with you soon. I'll be back here and doing the second part of this on Thursday. Bye for now.